Welcome back to Season 2 of the 5-Star Council Podcast, the 5-Star Counselor Bootcamp. Over the next 6 weeks, in 12 episodes, I'm taking you step by step through my service framework. Every episode focuses on one key aspect of service, not only tackling common misconceptions about that aspect, but also giving you clear takeaways and tactical exercises for you to do on your own. This will help you develop service in your firm so that it works for you, your employees, and your clients. I'll help you build the firm clients rave about because you, your clients, and your employees are happier, leading to more referrals, repeat business, and 5-star reviews. Let's get started. Hey 5-star listeners, I know we're all pretty excited to be able to gather together again, and one of my favorite legal gatherings is back and in person. Clio Cloud Conference will be in Nashville, Tennessee on October 10th and 11th. ClioCon brings together leaders from across legal and tech to learn, be inspired, and innovate. While there is a healthy focus on how to better use Clio, there's as much shared about how to improve your practice with whatever tools and tech you're actually using. Now, one of the main reasons I've gone every year since I opened my firm is how easy it is to connect with new people who are building a better way to practice law. And you've probably heard from many of those same people here on this podcast. 5-Star Council will be there conducting some on-site interviews, as well as sharing a slew of tips and trends that come from this future-focused event. If you want to join me there, we've got a special discount code just for our listeners. Just use the code 5-Star Council Podcast with hyphens between each word for $300 off your ticket. Don't worry, we've put that all in the show notes so you don't have to remember it. Get together with thousands of legal professionals from around the world in person for the first time in over 2 years, or virtually. No matter which you choose, trust me, you'll be glad you joined. Welcome back to Season 2 of 5-Star Council. We're starting off the season by building the North Star for our practice. This is 3 legs of the stool we've talked about a few times. Remember, the stool is built by you, the practice owner, whether you're in a big firm or all by your lonesome, your employees who are helping you serve your clients, and finally, your clients. But each of these 3 groups needs their own direction. Why? They're coming to this firm, your practice, for different reasons. So, as we think about this, remember that we're going to build our vision for ourselves as the practice owner. We're building out our values so our employees know how to act in situations without us. Finally, we're building out the mission so we know what we do for the clients we serve. This time, we're talking about values. When we think about the 3-legged stool that makes up each of our practices, we think about 3 different parties. The owner, which is probably you listening to this podcast right now. Your employees, which is the staff that helps us build this, and also includes you as an employee of your practice. And finally, our clients, the people we're serving. When we first talked about our vision and how this guides us as the owners of our practice, we used that. When we first talked about our vision, we used it as a guide for us as the owners of the practice in what we're building. We need to know what our North Star is as we build our practice. Now, as we start talking about values, these will be the North Star that guides our employees and their actions on a daily basis. These values, and it doesn't matter if you call them leadership principles or values or something else, think of them as the backbone to your culture. The culture is going to be how you consistently act. It doesn't matter what you do or say, it's how you're actually acting. Your values are the basis and backbone of your culture, and they provide guidance to your employees when you are not there to give them specific instructions. Ultimately, we'll talk more about how these values will be used as a basis for interviewing staff members later, but we'll leave that for now. As we build our values, it's important to know that if these are to guide our employees and how they behave every day, we want to make sure that they're flexible enough to encompass exactly how we should behave. Now, I'm going to tell you that in my firm, our values are cakes. We value compassionate service, being adaptable, being knowledgeable, making it easy, and finally smiling. Sure, you could take these and copy and paste them into your firm, but they won't reflect the specific nature of your practice, your people, and your clients. So think about this. These are examples, they're not prescriptions. You're not somehow doing it wrong if your values aren't cakes. There are 2 easy mistakes to fall into. The first is that values, like vision and mission, are some silly fluff that doesn't matter. Obviously, every firm is going to have some values, and these should be the shorthand for anybody to give them when they encounter a new circumstance or a new situation without you. These values will help them guide their actions. The second problem is that most firms don't have any real firm values. And if you don't have any defined values, you do have, in fact, the default values of making money and working hard and maybe being nice. Now, having worked in a few different law firms, I know that when they didn't have defined values, it's easy to see that it all comes back to working hard and making money. Frankly, when your values are work hard and make money, it doesn't build a great place to work. So we want to think about the behaviors and frameworks for acceptable behavior. We don't need to be able to quantify this in terms of answering a phone call in 10 seconds or documents going out without grammatical mistakes. We want to think about this as examples. What is an example of your firm, of somebody in your firm, taking an action and having it be a good way of behaving for your clients, yourself as the owner, and your team member? So we want to think about this as descriptive examples of what the culture should be. When somebody does something for my firm that demonstrates knowledge, well, what does that look like? It's not that we gave them an answer with a Flesch Kincaid reading score of 7. It's that we answered their questions and that we also answered the obvious next question that they're going to have. So, yes, we're working on something, dear client, and you should expect an answer from us that looks like this in the next so-and-so days. There's not a perfect number of days because sometimes we can't provide that number of days, but giving them that estimated time of delivery and what that delivery will look like so that the client knows, okay, great, I got the answer to my question, and this is when I should expect to see something. They don't have to worry about it for that next period of time. So we'll talk about standards for delivery in a later episode. For right now, we're just thinking about how to guide employees day to day in any circumstance. What do you want them to use as their guiding light when making decisions? It's the values. As always, it's good to go and look at what the Four Seasons has done because they have set out what their values are. Now, I've talked a few times about their service initialism for service. Smile, eye contact, recognize, voice, informed, clean, and everyone. Those are useful, and it's not the only thing they have. From their website, here are a few things that they use to describe their values. What we believe. Our greatest asset and the key to our success is our people. We believe that each of us needs a sense of dignity, pride, and satisfaction in what we do. Because satisfying our guests depends on the united efforts of many, we are most effective when we work together cooperatively, respecting each other's contribution and importance. How we succeed. We succeed when every decision is based on a clear understanding of and belief in what we do, and when we couple this conviction with sound financial planning. We expect to achieve a fair and reasonable profit to ensure the prosperity of the company and to offer long-term benefits to our hotel owners, our customers, and our employees. How we behave. We demonstrate our beliefs most meaningfully in the way we treat each other and by the example we set for each other. In all our interactions with our guests, customers, business associates, and colleagues, we seek to deal with each other as we would have them. So these three pieces frame up how the Four Seasons has done it and how it delivers both internally and externally. It's these phrases that Four Seasons uses every day, day in and day out, so that every employee is not thinking about how to behave. They internalize this to the point that they know that golden rule is how they should behave. The extra verbiage that I just read, it's there to help clarify it. And that's why we want to have examples. It's not enough to just say we value 1, 2, and 3, but provide those concrete examples and continually go back to your team to make sure they know when they've exemplified the values and when to write those down so everybody else sees that it's not just you, the owner, that exemplifies the values, it's everyone on the team. Again, we're providing good and reasonable guidance for everybody on how we behave. It's not a specific metric or how to evaluate whether or not somebody has been smiling or whether or not we were compassionate. It's how do we know these are the actions that work. One of the problems I see is that people will add to their business values from their own personal values. Now, loving what you do, being authentic, these are good things for your personal life. Unfortunately, they're not great values for your business, because values like this can unfortunately give your employees license to leave early on a Tuesday and go surfing. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be authentic, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't have balance in your life. But when you show up at work, there are certain things we're going to have to give up on to make sure that the business runs and that we can take care of the clients, the employees, and the owners together. By having these shared values that the business runs on, that the business's culture is built upon, we ensure that we can take care of everyone. And yes, that does mean that sometimes we're going to have to put away being fully authentic. But then that's why Don Draper said, this is what the money is for. So as you start to think about what your values should look like for your firm, think about things like acting with integrity and having a can-do attitude. We're here to make sure things go right for our clients and making sure that we achieve their results. But be careful not to set out something that's going to make it hard for your employees to get things done. Be careful you're not setting your employees up to fail, because if your standard and your value is to exceed expectations, you're going to put yourself and your employees in a situation where not every situation can exceed expectations. So as we close this episode, here are our exercises. Your values are the shorthand for how you behave. What are those values? Not only should you have a list of what those values are, have 2 sentences about what each value means to you and how it impacts the business. You should include 2 examples for what that value in practice looks like. If you value having a can-do attitude, make sure that you've put down that this means that an employee should go and find the next form that the client will need and provide that to them. Not only are they telling them what needs to be done, but they're also giving the client the tools they need to get that done as well. Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcouncil.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcouncil.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.